The convoy moved through the dense forest, its members quiet but alert. Haku and Karen walked side by side, their conversation a welcome distraction from the tension. Haku spoke softly, his voice carrying a calming reassurance as they shared more about their lives. Karen had begun to relax, smiling as she talked about her mother and the few fleeting moments of peace they'd shared over the years. Kimimaro, ever watchful, walked slightly ahead of them, his bone blade ready in his hand. He listened to their conversation with quiet approval, though his attention remained fixed on the shadows around them. Shinichi, at the rear of the convoy, leaned lazily against a tree as they paused briefly to regroup. "You two," he called out, his tone gruff as he addressed Haku and Karen. "Keep the chatter down. You're distracting Kimimaro." Karen blushed and glanced at Haku, who chuckled softly. "Kimimaro's always focused, no matter what," Haku replied, earning a faint nod from Kimimaro. Suzumibachi walked near the front with Zabuza, her eyes scanning the treetops. She felt uneasy, though she couldn't pinpoint why. "Something's off," she muttered. Zabuza grunted, his hand resting on the hilt of his massive executioner's blade. "Always is." As the convoy pressed on, a faint buzzing sound emerged from the trees. It started subtly, almost imperceptible, but quickly grew louder. Suzumibachi froze as a single red bee darted out of the forest, flying erratically toward the group. It started at the back of the convoy, drawing the attention of every Kaguya warrior it passed. "What is that?" Shinichi asked, narrowing his eyes. The bee continued its journey, weaving through the convoy until it reached Suzumibachi. It hovered in front of her, its red hue unnatural for the region. Without hesitation, Suzumibachi extended her index finger, allowing the bee to land. As soon as she touched it, the bee popped, releasing a red mist that dissipated into the air. Suzumibachi's expression hardened. "Everyone, defensive positions, now!" she barked, her voice sharp and commanding. The convoy sprang into action. The Kaguya warriors immediately formed a perimeter, their bone weapons extending from their bodies in a show of lethal precision. Zabuza unsheathed his executioner's blade in one fluid motion, stepping in front of Mikoto and Karen. Kimimaro moved to the front of Haku and Karen, his stance poised and his bone blade gleaming in the faint sunlight. Haku stood behind him, kunai in hand, his eyes scanning the forest for any sign of movement. The Kamizuru clan emerged from their positions, their camouflage jutsu dropping as they took up defensive stances. Their sudden appearance even surprised the Kaguya, who had failed to detect them. Before anyone could speak, the forest erupted in motion. Umbrellas launched into the air, opening with a sharp snap before a barrage of senbon needles rained down on the convoy. The Kaguya warriors reacted immediately, deflecting the needles with their bone blades or dodging with practiced precision. Kimimaro moved like a shadow, intercepting every senbon aimed at Haku and Karen, his bone blade a blur. Haku deflected the needles aimed at himself with his own senbon, his movements graceful and deliberate. "Stay close to me," he said firmly to Karen. Karen and Mikoto stood back to back, their positions defensive but untrained. Mikoto raised her hands in preparation for a sealing jutsu, but her movements were slow, a clear sign of her frailty. The rain ninja emerged from the forest in small groups, their targets clear. They moved with deadly precision, focusing their efforts on reaching Mikoto and Karen. Zabuza met them head-on, his executioner's blade carving through the first wave with brutal efficiency. The ground ran red with blood as he cut down his enemies, his cold, menacing aura driving fear into their hearts. Shinichi let out a bloodthirsty laugh as he charged into the fray, his bone blades extending from his arms like claws. He tore through his opponents with feral glee, his movements erratic and unpredictable. Suzumibachi and her brothers fought in unison, commanding swarms of bees to overwhelm the rain ninja. The buzzing grew deafening as the insects swarmed their targets, stinging relentlessly and injecting venom that slowed the ninja's movements. Kurobachi slammed one rain ninja to the ground with brute force, while Suzumibachi flanked another, her kunai plunging deep into his side. Amid the chaos, a new figure emerged, a man with green hair and piercing purple eyes. He wielded a sword crackling with lightning, the thunder god, a weapon that once belonged to the second Hokage. Aoi Rokusho, Suzumebachi hissed, recognizing the traitorous former leaf ninja. Aoi moved with fierce determination, cutting down Kaguya warriors with the power of the Thunder God. Though his technique was sloppy, the sheer force of his attacks made up for it. Lightning arced from his blade, striking down two warriors as he advanced toward Mikoto and Karen. Kimimaro intercepted him, his bone blade clashing with the Thunder God. The impact sent a jolt of electricity through Kimimaro's body, but he stood firm, his expression unflinching. Aoi sneered and pressed forward, but Kimimaro parried each blow with surgical precision, refusing to let him pass. Haku joined the fight, launching a barrage of senbon at Aoi. The needles forced him to back off momentarily, but the Rain Ninja leader smirked. "You think you can stop me? I'll take what I came for." Zabuza appeared like a shadow behind Aoi, his massive blade swinging with deadly intent. Aoi barely dodged in time, the blade slicing through a nearby tree with ease. "You'll have to get through me first," Zabuza growled, his voice cold and menacing. The battle raged on, the convoy fighting desperately to protect Mikoto and Karen as the Rain Ninja pressed their assault.